let's head off to the Etihad right now, because my colleague Adam Catterall is up there for this one today. Adam, we love your boxing knowledge, but I know you're tuned into this fixture big time. What's the feeling in the northwest as you wander around there today? Is it one of confidence? Is it one of trepidation? Anticipation? What is it?
I think from a Manchester City point of view, there's a lot of confidence given the recent form that they are in, and obviously looking at their opponents tonight, just a little blip that Arsenal have suffered over the last 3 games in particular. But from an Arsenal point of view, I don't think they've got anything to lose tonight, gents. It is do or die. I know there's a lot of chat about it being a title decider, and then if we're really honest, Arsenal aren't supposed to be here, are they? They've exceeded all expectations, so therefore absolutely have a go at it, and don't die wondering. I think we're in for an absolute cracking game live on talkSPORT later.
I think you're right. I mean, Danny, when you look at it, is it a coming-of-age moment for this young Arsenal side tonight?
Well, irrelevant to what happens tonight, they can be proud of what they've done this season, even if they fall away. They have got something to lose. They've got the title to lose, and they've been very aware of that in recent games because their performances have shown that they know they've got something to lose. But tonight, I just think that a good performance and having a go is key, like you just said. I think there's some elements in the game that need to go their way for them to get a result. I think if they lose, it's done completely. I think if they draw, there's still a chance, even though it's in City's hands. And if they win, it's game on again. I mean, if they win, if they somehow get a win, then we are looking at a hell of a run-in. The one area I'd be interested in tonight, more than anywhere else on the pitch, is what he does with Saka Pep. Because Ake's not there. The young lad Gomez struggled with Berger against Sheffield United. Doesn't look, he's a winger playing at left back.
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva played at left back for half a game at Arsenal. Probably nearly got close to being sent off because Saka ran him a bit ragged, and then they changed it at half time. Laporte, who's the only left-footed I can think of at left back, is their slowest defender. Mm-hmm. So the left back against Saka, I think he might throw Kyle Walker left back and say just mark Saka.
Really, he's that important. And he is a very important player to Arsenal.
Well, he has
that,
been.
No doubt.
He has been up until
he's had a little fall away.
In the last 2 or 3 games, he's gone missing a little bit because ultimately Arsenal have gone missing in certain parts of the game. On Friday, Arteta said after the game, he was asked, and of course, in the heat of the moment, you may answer perhaps more candidly than you want to. Do you have to win at the Etihad? And he said yes. I think they can win. I think if they do win, it's a whole different dynamic. But I think if they don't, I think Manchester City, I've always felt that this game would be the turning point, but because of Arsenal's recent form, I felt we'd get to this point of Arsenal still in control of their own destiny. They're kind of not, to some extent, because I thought the result they'd get at the Etihad was maybe a draw, and if they got a draw, anything other than defeat for me was Arsenal going on to win the league. But because of the last 3 games, it's changed the dynamic because Arsenal are not in control anymore, because if they go blow for blow and match one another, Man City win the league by a point, right? That's how it is,
yes,
right? So now Man City are in control of their destiny a little bit more than they were previously. So the outcome for me is if Arsenal win this game, which they're perfectly capable of, then they'll win the league.
Yeah. Adam, is it your view up there? I mean, you're on the spot. I'm going to be up there later on. I'm keen to get a feel for it all. I mean, Simon and I were at the corresponding fixture a few weeks ago at the Emirates, and it has a feel to it of, this is vitally important for both clubs, but it doesn't have the kind of feel to me of, say, a Manchester City Liverpool run-in. You know, when there's an intensity about that. I'm not so sure I get the intensity of this one in that sense.
No, I think you're right with that. But Manchester City have been here time and time again over the last 10 years, and I think that they're looking at this particular run-in now, given the form that their side is currently in at. They're brimming with confidence. They're doing it on the European scale as well. They've obviously got a cup final with Manchester United to look forward to and a semi-final with Real Madrid to look forward to as well. And I think they look at Arsenal, and I keep coming back to Arsenal have exceeded expectations this season, and they're looking at Arsenal's form and the way that they have performed over the last 3, and they're coming into this game tonight. They're heavy favourites, I think, Manchester City, and they're at home. And the way that they are playing, the general consensus from speaking to fans in and around the Etihad this morning in particular is that they think that they're turning up and they're winning the league tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that this all plays out.
That is likely, to be honest. I just ask you, Adam, from an Arsenal perspective, just maybe I'm clutching at straws here, and this might be contentious, but if you're Arsenal and you're going away to a big game to try and get a result. Man City's not as fearful of places somewhere like Anfield, is it, anymore? It's not like you're going into a cauldron of... Going to Anfield, you'd be going, no chance.
But it's an interesting dynamic, Danny, because when they played at the... And I don't understand this lack of intensity, because I went to the game at the Emirates and the place was absolutely jumping. The atmosphere was electric. Man City players were beside themselves when they scored goals in the second half, and Grealish in particular. And the Arsenal fan base were absolutely fervent. But the dynamic in this game is that Arsenal didn't have enough offensively to cause Man City as many problems as you'd like them to have done. They got that now. But the flip side of it, they've lost Saliba, which I think has been a telling point about how many goals they've conceded in the last few games. The loss of Saliba has been a big loss for them. So they've got the defensively weaker against Man City than the last time they played. But they're offensively stronger, Arsenal.
Yeah, but Simon, that's the very point I'm trying to make. Do you think Pep worries as much about Arsenal as he has done in the past about Liverpool? We've seen in the documentary him positively fretting about people like Salah and Mane. I don't think he's got the same emotion about Arsenal.
No, you're right.
Well, you're probably right, because there are players in that side that he didn't want that are key components
well,
of Arsenal's
the evidence was more that although City tended to get over the line against Liverpool, to be fair to Pep, but it showed, especially in a couple of games in the Champions League where he tweaked the formation. He'd done it in the league actually a couple of times at Anfield. They very rarely win at Anfield. I think they've only won once there.
Yeah.
And he always tweaks the formation because he's worried about Liverpool, yeah.
Adam, while we've got you, and you can put your boxing gloves on for us, Eubank Jr., Liam Smith, the rematch in that part of the world where you are now. And again, it got a bit frosty, it got a bit feisty yesterday with some of the choice of words between the two. Does it excite you?
Not as much as the first one did, if I'm really, really honest, because I thought we got a conclusive ending to that first fight. I think we're only here because it's the only option, really, for Eubank Jr. But I'm sure that with it being his only option, he's going to bring the kitchen sink. I'm really looking forward to seeing what changes he makes in this camp, because he's a guy that does his own thing. He's very headstrong. He doesn't really take too well to too much coaching. He does his own thing. We know what Liam Smith's going to bring, so... Hopefully, Chris Eubank Jr. can make the right adjustments in order to make it a competitive fight the second time around, because it most certainly wasn't that first time round.
What was said, Adam? I missed it. You know, I would expect him to be a bit more humble and just be more careful with his words this time after being knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday he was more careful, Adam. I'm sure you'd agree, Liam Smith, but
there's
definitely a needle between the two. He's desperate to pick Eubank Jr. up on anything he says, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, Chris is, let's just say, he's a bit backwards in coming forwards when it comes to admitting that he was beaten by the better man. I think he's putting it down to a little bit of good fortune at the moment, the first fight, and he said that he will only concede that he's been beaten by the better man if Liam Smith can repeat what he did in the first fight. That's basically where he's at.
Right, okay.
Adam, terrific. Adam Catterall at the Etihad for us, setting the scene beautifully, because later on, that's where it all goes down. 8 o'clock tonight, it's a talkSPORT exclusive. Manchester City against Arsenal. Have we done this, Simon? Did I ask you yesterday for your prediction? I've thrown in, I think, in a talkSPORT build up to this, a 3-2 Manchester City. I think there'll be goals, but I think City will just get it.
I honestly don't know. I think it's like, in boxing terms, it's a pick'em.
Yeah,
Could be anything.
It could be anything.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.